The days that followed Mama Shade's visit never felt heavier than the ones before. The history of the dance lingered in Ayanda's mind, haunting her as she went about her daily routines. She couldn't stop picturing Efuola, her bare feet moving gracefully across the earth, her steps summoning rain and salvation for the people. But Ayanda wasn't Efuola. She wasn't strong enough. She wasn't brave enough. The village had grown colder towards her and her family. Conversations stopped when she passed by. Doors were closed in her face. The whispers grew louder, more brazen. Even the children, usually carefree and full of laughter, ran from her as if she carried a sickness. At home, things were worse. The food stores were running low, and Kemi had returned from the market again with empty hands. "They won't sell to us," Kemi snapped, slamming the water jug onto the ground. "They said we can fetch water, but nothing else." Ayanda looked up from where she sat, peeling cassava with a dull knife. "I'll try," she said, quietly standing. "You?" Kemi scoffed. "And what will you do that I haven't tried? Beg them? Plead for mercy?" Ayanda didn't respond. She wrapped her shawl around her shoulders and headed towards the market. The market was busier than usual, but Ayanda's presence felt like a stone dropped into a calm water. Conversations faltered as she passed, the warm hum of battering replaced by tense silence. She stopped at the grain seller's store, her head bowed. "I need rice," she said softly, avoiding the woman's gaze. The seller leaned forward, her arms crossed. "Rice is for villagers who honor tradition, not for those who spit on it." Ayanda's stomach tightened. "I have money. Please just..." "I said no," the woman snapped, her voice loud enough to draw attention. Others turned to watch, their faces hard and unyielding. Ayanda felt their stares, their judgment. Her throat tightened and she forced herself to turn away. She walked quickly, her head low, but her steps slowed when she heard the mortars behind her. Her family will soon starve. She deserves it. Maybe hunger will teach her respect. Her fist clenched, and for a moment she thought about turning back, about shouting at them, about telling them they didn't understand. But what good would it do? When she returned home empty-handed, Kemi was waiting for her, her arm crossed and her face livid. "Well?" she demanded. "They won't sell to me either," Ayanda said. "Of course they wouldn't," Kemi exploded. "What do you think was going to happen, Ayanda? You have ruined us." "I'm trying," Ayanda said, her voice shaking. "No, you are not," Kemi shot back. "You are hiding behind your pride. We are the ones paying for it. Do you know what people are saying? They are saying the gods have cursed us. They are saying I'll never marry because of you." Ayanda flinched. "That's not fair, Kemi." "Fair?" Kemi laughed bitterly. "Was it fair when I went to the seamstress and she refused to sew my wedding dress because I'm your sister? Was it fair when Mama couldn't trade her fabric because no one wants anything touched by this family?" "Kemi, that's enough," their mother interjected. But Kemi ignored her, stepping closer to Ayanda. "Do you even care what you have done to us? Or are you so busy feeling sorry for yourself that you don't notice?" Ayanda's voice cracked as she replied, "I didn't ask for this. Do you think I want to be abandoned? Do you think I want to be cursed?" "Then fix it," Kemi said coldly. "Dance, beg the gods for forgiveness and fix it." Ayanda couldn't answer. She turned and left the hut, tears streaming down her face. Duro met her at the edge of the village, where she often went to be alone. His face was weary and his shoulders slumped. "They came to my family today," he said, sitting beside her on a large rock. "Who?" Ayanda asked. "The elders. They told my parents I should reconsider marrying you." Ayanda's heart sank. "So what did you say?" "I told them no," Duro said quickly. "But Ayanda, this is getting harder. My family has no peace. People whisper about them because of me, because of us." "You are thinking about leaving," Ayanda said quietly. "No," Duro said sharply, though his tone was defensive. I need you to help me understand. Why won't you dance? Is it pride? Is it fear? What is it? Ayanda looked down at her hands, her voice barely audible. I don't know. Duro sighed, standing. You have to figure it out, Ayanda, before this destroys everything. As he walked away, Ayanda stared at the riverbed, her heart heavier than ever. That night, the wind howled fiercely, rattling the walls of Ayanda's hut. She lay awake on her mat, staring at the ceiling. Kemi's words, Duro's voice, and the whispers of the villagers all swirled in her mind. She closed her eyes, praying silently for the first time in years. If you are listening, gods, if you care, tell me what to do. Then the wind fell silent, unnaturally so. Ayanda sat up, her heart pounding. The faint light of the dying fire flickered, casting long shadows across the room. And then she saw her. Standing in the corner, bathed in silvery light, was a woman. Her flowing robes seemed to shimmer, and her face was calm, yet commanding. Who are you? She whispered. The woman stepped forward, her voice soft but powerful. I am Efuola, she said. Ayanda's eyes widened. She had heard the name all her life, the savior of the village, the first to dance. But why was she here? Efuola's gaze was steady as she spoke. You called to the gods, Ayanda, though you may not have realized it, and they sent me. Ayanda stared at the glowing figure before her, her chest tightening with disbelief. Efuola, the legendary woman whose name was whispered in reverence, whose dance had once saved the village, stood in a small hut as though she had stepped out of a story. You can't be real. Ayanda's voice trembled. Efuola tilted her head slightly, her gaze calm but piercing. The gods are real, child, and so am I. She moved closer, her white robes shimmering like moonlight. You have been carrying a heavy burden, Ayanda. It has clouded your heart and turned you away from the path. Ayanda's voice cracked as she replied, What path? The gods demand, and what do they give in return? I danced for them, Efuola. I danced with everything I had, and they let me be humiliated. Efuola knelt beside her, folding her glowing hands over Ayanda's trembling ones. Her touch was cool and soothing, like a breeze on a scorching day. Tell me, child, Efuola said gently, what happened that day? Ayanda's eyes spilled over, her words coming in broken sobs. It was my first wedding. I loved him, Efuola. I loved him with all my heart. I danced for him. I danced for the gods. I believed they would bless our union. She wiped her face with her trembling fingers. But he left me. He left me in the morning of our wedding. He ran away with my dowry and left me to face the shame alone. Efuola's expression softened. Her eyes filled with compassion. And so you blamed the gods? How would I not? Ayanda whispered. If they were watching, if they cared, why didn't they stop it? Why didn't they protect me? Efuola sighed, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. The gods do not work in ways we always understand, Ayanda. Sometimes, what seems like cruelty is their way of showing mercy. Ayanda's brow furrowed. Mercy? How was that mercy? Efuola's glowing form straightened slightly. The man you were to marry, Folari, was not the man you thought he was. He was cruel in his heart. It would have brought you pain, not love. His words would have broken your spirit. The gods saw the life you could not see and they acted. That voice froze. Her breath caught in her throat. He would have hurt me. Yes, Efuola said softly. The gods could not bear to see you bound to such a man. To a man who would have broken you in so many ways. Your dance and your dance was so pure and full of truth that it spoke directly to them. They heard you and they intervened, not to punish you but to save you. Ayanda shook her head, her mind reeling. They saved me? Efuola nodded. Yes, But in your pain, you turned away from them. You let your anger and pride cloud your understanding. The gods do not ask for perfection, child. They ask for trust, for connection. That is what the dance represents. Not submission, but harmony. Ayanda buried her face in her hands, her tears flowing freely. I thought they didn't care about me. I thought they had abandoned me. They never abandoned you, Efonla said firmly. Even now, they watch you with sorrow, longing for you to return to them. You must let go of the pain you carry. It is heavy, Ayanda, and it is breaking you. How can I let it go? Ayanda whispered. The shame, the whispers, the anger, it's all I've known since that day. Efonla rose, a glowing figure towering above Ayanda. By dancing again. Ayanda looked up sharply, shaking her head. I can't do it again. What if something worse happens? What if Duro leaves me too? The gods do not take from those who dance with truth in their hearts, Efonla said, her voice steady. Your first dance was one of hope, but this one must be one of healing. Dance for yourself, Ayanda. Dance for your people, and the gods will hear you again. Efonla began to fade, a shimmering form dissolving like mist in the firelight. Wait! Ayanda cried, reaching out. I don't know if I can do this. Efonla's voice lingered, soft but firm. The gods believe in you, Ayanda. Now it is time for you to believe in yourself. And then she was gone. Ayanda sat in silence, her mind spinning with the weight of what she had just learned. The revelation had shaken her, cracked the foundations of her bitterness. The gods had saved her, not abandoned her, but the fear and anger still clung to her, wrapping around her heart like stubborn vines. By the time the first light of dawn crept through the cracks of the wall, Ayanda had made her decision. She would dance, not for the gods, not for the village, and not even for Duro. This time, she would dance for herself, to finally lay her pain to rest. The morning brought little warmth. The village square buzzed with quiet activity, though the usual energy of market day was absent. Ayanda walked into the square, her head high despite the heavy weight in her chest. The villagers noticed her immediately. Conversations faltered and all eyes turned towards her. Mama Shade stood near the sacred baobab tree, speaking to a group of elders. When she saw Ayanda approaching, she straightened, her cane digging into the ground. You have something to say, child? The murmurs grew louder as the villagers gathered around, their faces etched with suspicion and anger. Ayanda swallowed hard, her voice steady as she spoke. I will dance. The crowd fell silent, as if the earth itself had stopped moving. Mama Shade raised an eyebrow. And why now, Ayanda? What has changed? Ayanda glanced at the faces of the villagers. She took a deep breath and answered, I have been wrong. I let my pain blind me to the truth. The gods didn't abandon me. They protected me, and I see that now. A ripple of murmurs swept through the crowd. Some looked skeptical, others looked hopeful. The gods spoke to me, Ayanda continued, her voice rising with conviction. Through Efonla, she told me the dance is not about fear or duty. It's about trust, connection. I will dance, not because I am forced to, but because I need to. Mama Shade's sharp gaze softened slightly, though her voice remained stern. Words are one thing, child, but the gods will judge your sincerity. The dance must come from the heart. It will, Ayanda said firmly. The days leading up to the dance were tense but filled with purpose. Ayanda practiced alone in the forest, her bare feet moving across the dry earth. At first, her steps were hesitant, her body stiff with fear. The memories of her first wedding clung to her like shadows, making her stumble, but she pressed on, guided by the rhythm of drums in her mind and the memory of Efonla's glowing presence. Slowly, Her movements became more fluid, more confident. She added her own flourishes, small leaps, graceful spins, creating a dance that felt uniquely ours. Duro came to watch one evening, standing silently at the edge of the clearing. "I wanted to see you," he said, stepping closer. "I can tell this means something to you now." "It does," Ayanda said softly, "but I don't know if it will fix everything." Duro smiled faintly. "It's a start." His voice gave her the strength to keep going. The village square was alive with light and sound, though it lacked the celebratory energy of a true wedding. The baobab tree loomed over the circle, its branches bare and brittle. The drums were steady but subdued, as if holding their breath. Ayanda stepped into the circle, her heart pounding. She wore a simple white dress, her hair adorned with fresh flowers. The villagers crowded and around the edges of the square, their faces filled with a mixture of hope and doubt. Duro stood among them, his expression unreadable. Kemi watched from the far side, her arms crossed. Even Mama Shade was quiet, her cane resting against the ground as she waited. The drummers began their rhythm, slow and steady, and Ayanda closed her eyes. She let the sound fill her, feeling it in her chest, her bones, her very soul. Her feet moved. Ayanda started with the traditional steps, stomping for the earth, calling for fertility and life. Her feet struck the ground with force, sending small clouds of dust into the air. She spun for the air, her arms outstretched as if embracing the wind. She swayed for the water, her movements fluid and graceful. Her body echoed the flowing river, and she leapt for the fire, her spirit rising with each bound. But then she added her own movements. She dropped to her knees, her arms outstretched in vulnerability. She turned in slow, deliberate circles, her steps heavy with the weight of her pain and resilience. She leapt again, higher this time, her body soaring with a newfound freedom. The villagers watched in stunned silence, their breath caught in their throats. There was no mockery, no doubt, only awe. Above them, the sky began to change. A soft rain began to fall, cool and gentle, soaking in the dry earth. The baobab tree shuddered, and new leaves began to sprout, fresh and green. The drummers creaking their rhythms, and the crowd erupted into cheers. When the dance ended, Ayanda stood in the center of the circle, her chest heaving as she caught her breath. The villagers surged forward, surrounding her with joy and relief. "You did it," Kemi said, tears streaming down her face. Duro pulled Ayanda into a tight embrace, his voice thick with emotion. "You were incredible." Even Mama Shade approached, her usual stern expression softened. "The gods have heard you," she said. Ayanda looked up at the sky, letting the rain wash over her. For the first time in years, she felt light. In the weeks that followed, the village came alive again. The river swelled, the crops thrived, and the tension that had plagued Irepo faded, free from the weight of her past. Marriages resumed, including Kemi's, whose wedding was filled with laughter and joy. Ayanda and Duro stood side by side, their bond stronger than ever. The story of her dance became a tale passed down through generations, a reminder that the gods' ways were not always clear, but their wisdom was undeniable. And Ayanda, she danced not out of obligation, but out of joy for herself, for the rhythm of life. Thank you for walking this journey with Ayanda. Our struggles and our triumph remind us that sometimes the hardest battles we face are the ones within ourselves. What did this story teach you about faith, courage, or forgiveness? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Ayanda's choice to reclaim the dance was brave? What would you have done in her place? Remember, life like a dance is full of rhythm and steps, and every stumble can lead to a stronger beat. If you have enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, share with your family and friends. Until the next story, be kind and stay blessed.